Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Social Discharge podcast. I am your host, Tamika Likes to Draw,
I
and joining me today is Nebz.
damn. Am I real? You know the rest. Hi.
And we've also got Aarlon.
Hello, everybody. What a high energy day it is today.
Everyone else is low key. I'm like the only one here that has high energy.
Today's topic
Jeez.
is creators we love and hate,
At
but
the
at
same time.
the same time. Yeah, because originally we were just gonna do creators we hate, and then I realized, I don't know about everyone else, but I realized I don't really have any creators that I hate, so we're gonna fit love and hate into this episode, or at least in my case, love and am indifferent towards. But
So you're indifferent towards Frank Miller. I got you. Bing bong.
I haven't actually read any of Frank Miller's work, surprisingly. Um,
Well, I'm gonna show you Spawn Batman then.
I like to frame myself as a comics aficionado, but all I've really read is some Spider-Man and some Iron. Well, actually, I've read a lot more than that, but mostly Spider-Man and Iron Man. That's about it. But yeah, we're all consumers. We all consume art of some kind, and we've all seen creators that we absolutely love, the work that they make, and creators that we absolutely despise. So, we're going to be talking about that today. And, Arlon, do you want to get us started with
You
yours?
wanted me to start. You wanted me to start. What the
Yeah,
No.
fuck?
Nebz should start.
Okay,
He's
Nebs,
waited long enough.
Nebs, you get us
All right.
on.
I'm trying. So number one, Katsuhiro Otomo, because I read Akira and Domu. Those were fantastic, and his movies are also really good. Another creator I really like is or liked because he's no longer with us. Dwayne McDuffie. I
Mm,
watched Justice League Doom. I think I read an issue of Damage Control where he created Damage Control, the construction team that
the guy who created Benton, right? Or
who
wasn't the guy who
he
created
created.
Benton?
No, Static Shock is what he created,
Oh,
and I love
right.
Static Shock. I think it's really good. I think Tyler, the creator, was pissed off that it was canceled. I mean, weren't we all?
It's back in comic book form.
The
I just,
show, the show,
I just,
Coco,
I just wouldn't recommend reading that comic because it's very political. And, yeah.
the show
I
though.
hate politics.
Do you
Uh,
want to tell us what you like about Dwayne McDuffie?
yeah, I think his writing has been an influence to me, as well as Katsuhiro Otomo's for
Mm-hmm.
a year. but but
Mm-hmm.
but it's been like that for a long while, and
Like,
I
in what
feel
way?
that his I don't know, I just like it. I just adore it.
That's fair. That's fair.
With Katsuhiro Otomo though, what I like about it is the world building, the characters, his designs for Katsuhiro Otomo, but we already
Mm-hmm.
went through that. But
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
the third one that I like is shit. Trying to remember.
That's why I told you to write it
Peter David.
down.
Peter David,
Okay.
who created Spider-Man 2099, and he wrote the Death of Gene DeWolf story, and he was one of the writers on The Other, which was the one where Spider-Man evolved and had
Are you
these fucking stingers as wrists.
are you talking about when he turned into a spider and then he gave birth to himself
Yes,
and
he
and
was one
then
of the writers on
What?
that, even though J. Michael Straczynski was the main person behind it, who I
oh
also
Arlon,
like, but he's not in the list.
you don't know about that story? There's a story in the
No.
Spider-Man comics where Peter is slowly but surely becoming more like a spider, and then
No,
he
no, no, no,
dies.
no. What happened was he got this disease. He was dying, and then Morlun came back and killed
Yeah,
him softly with his song.
he like gave birth
He
to himself, and the new him that he gave birth to had biological webs. They wrote that weird ass story just to make it more like the Raimi movies.
The organic webbing came before The Other.
So it's like, what? That's kind of weird, bro. What the fuck's going
It's
on
kind of
here?
weird.
Yeah,
Straczynski, what are you thinking? I love that guy's run though.
Krasinski is one of
Um,
my favorite writers. He needs to come
my
back.
favorite.
I can't believe they
Please
brought Dan Slott back before he did. What the hell?
come back. Quesada's gone now. No, no, we'll be getting to him in a minute.
Wait, is
Uh,
he? Okay, right. We'll get to him later.
um, number 4 is
Hmm.
and this is specifically because of Ultimate Spider-Man. Bendis, big balding Bendis.
I thought you
I
hated
love.
Bendis. I actually have
No,
him on my list too, as a creator I love.
I didn't like him after Ultimate Spider-Man,
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair,
but
to be honest.
with Ultimate Spider-Man, I feel like that was where he strived. Right? You ever thought of that?
Wait,
Ultimate Spider-Man is definitely the best thing he's written. Because, like,
what
everything after
part
that, like,
of Ultimate did he write?
he wrote the Ultimate comics pretty much all the way to the end. So,
What? I thought
yeah.
they
Yeah.
like changed writers or something after like
No,
No,
the first
it was
the
just
volume.
Ultimate,
Bendis.
the
Ultimate
Ultimate
Spider-Man
comic,
was just Bendis.
Why
yeah,
did
the
like
Ultimate,
everything change then after the end of the first volume?
the Ultimate
Like
comic
It
started
didn't.
in
they like
2000.
retconned a bunch of stuff, didn't they? I
No.
remember
No, the
reading it
Ultimate
and being
comic.
like, what is going on?
The Ultimate
Oh,
Comics
oh,
ended with the so you know how in the movies they have like the whole multiverse stuff going on right now and they're leading up to Secret Wars and stuff. So
Uh-huh.
that's kind of like a movie adaptation of what happened in the comics where the Ultimate Universe and the
is
original
dead.
universe they kind of had like a war or something which ultimately led to the Ultimate Universe like dying. But like
Yeah,
some elements of the Ultimate Universe were carried over, like the Black Nick Fury became the definitive Nick Fury, for example.
No, but I'm
Miles,
talking about like before
Miles
that.
Morales.
Like at the end of the first volume of Ultimate Spider-Man, like New York. Wait, Spider-Man's in New York, right? New
Yeah.
York,
they're all in New York.
New
No.
York, like flooded.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Ultimatum, but
You're
like it
talking
didn't.
about Ultimatum and Ultimates 3. Nah, we don't
Yeah.
care about that shit.
Ultimate,
That shit sucked. And
Ultimatum was
it's not even Bendis. That's
the
Jeff
worst
Loeb.
that happened in the Ultimate comics because like it literally led to so many heroes in the Ultimate Universe dying for like no reason. But it
No
wasn't a
reason.
it was just a flood. It was a flood with Magneto. And then you go into volume 2, which is Ultimate Comics Ultimate Spider-Man, which is about 16 volumes. I own the trade paperbacks of those, which lead into the
Nice.
death of Spider-Man. And then after the death of Spider-Man, it goes into Miles Morales. So,
Every in all the Spider-Man stuff in the Ultimate Universe was written by Bendis.
if I were to guess, Arlon, I have a feeling you didn't read the entire Ultimate Comics series of Ultimate
No, yeah,
Spider-Man.
I said I read
Yeah.
the first volume of Ultimate Spider-Man. That is my only experience with Ultimate.
Yeah, because after the flood, there's Ultimate Spider-Man Requiem, which is like a one-off issue thing. And then after that, there's Ultimate Spider-Man 2009, which is the second
Yeah,
volume, which
yeah,
it has Bendis is still the writer, but it has a new artist, David LaFuente, who is one of my favorite
Yeah.
artists.
I remember
Yeah,
that the
I
art
still prefer
changed.
Bagley Dog.
But they
yeah,
also were like undoing like there was like plot lines and stuff going on before the flood, and they just were like, never mind about all of that. We don't care
yeah.
about
But
any
But
of
I
that.
don't care
that
because
was because
we're getting off topic.
by the
True.
time Bendis started Ultimate Spider-Man 2009, he was already planning to kill off Peter, so it was like, fuck it.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah. Uh, can I get to the stuff I hate though? The people I loathe creatively?
Yeah, tell us who you hate,
Oh,
Nebs.
good. Tell us more about Bendis. What you like about
No,
Bendis?
fuck you. No, fuck you.
All right, fine.
All right. Number one. His name is Joe Quesada. Fuck him. He's a bitch.
You want to tell us who Joe Quesada is?
Okay. Joe Quesada. He's an artist, and he was formerly the editor in chief of Marvel Comics.
Pretty good artist.
I think Joe Quesada is the reason why the Marvel Knights imprint was created. He drew Marvel Knights Daredevil with Kevin Smith on the scripts, and then he became the editor in chief. And I don't know what the fuck he was doing. Then, like, he hired fucking Bill Jemas to be the president. Fuck you. Fuck you. Like,
Yeah. Um, um, Joe Quesada is
bad
most most hated primarily for the impact that he had on the
on
Amazing
Spider-Man.
Spider.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, on the
Not
Amazing
even just
Spider-Man.
Amazing Spider-Man, all Spider-Man.
Because to give some context, right? So Peter and MJ, they got married like
In the 80s.
eon eons ago in the comics, yeah, in the 80s. Right around the
And
time that Todd McFarlane came on as an artist, I think.
oh,
Um,
that run was fantastic. That one was
yeah,
beautiful.
it was pretty cool. So and then things are getting better for in the comics. You
Things
know how
were getting better for
the
for
characters.
let me explain. Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson were married in the 80s, right? Just like Coco said. In the
Yeah,
90s, the whole image revolution thing happened, and also
yeah.
the editors were getting sick of the marriage.
Hmm.
And Roger Stern, who wasn't an editor, but he was a writer on Spider-Man for a while.
Yeah. But like, there's this whole thing where it's like in universe. There's this whole thing like with Spider-Man comics where like um editors like Joe Quesada, for example, basically the idea is that Peter Parker's life has to always suck. It can never be good. He can never be happy. And obviously, him being in a happy marriage is somewhat contradictory to him having his life always being shitty because
And it's not even just
apparently
that, and I'm getting to that.
apparently apparently you can't have a shitty life while being happily married. That's weird. But
That's
anyway,
crazy.
I feel like a lot of people who are happily married would disagree with that. But anyway, so Joe Quesada is like, we're gonna orchestrate this whole story, this whole like 5 part, like 10 part, I don't even know how long it was,
Four.
story, just to sort of
It was 4 parts.
just to divorce Peter and MJ. Like you can't just have them be like have marital problems and then be in a divorce.
You
We're
want to know
gonna
the
come
real
up
reason
with
why that happened? It's
we're gonna come up
because
with a
it's these editors thought that Peter Parker was getting too old for readers. Man, shut
well
your
they
bitch
thought
ass up!
they thought he was becoming unrelatable to like the target demographic, basically.
Which was
Because
what? What is the target demographic? Toddlers to you, Joe? Dumbass.
yeah, they thought he was becoming unrelatable to the target demographic. So they were like, we're gonna make this whole story. So they had like Civil War, and then Aunt May died because Kingpin found out who Peter was.
Well, not
Uh,
died really, but she was put in the hospital.
Yeah, she was put in the hospital. She got shot because Kingpin found out who Peter is because Peter revealed his
And
identity.
and then the
And
Back in
so they were
Black
like,
story happened, and that was pretty cool.
yeah, that
And
story
then
was
we
pretty.
and now there's one more day left.
Yeah, and then
And that
there's
can
one
mean
more.
two things.
Yeah.
You see, One More Day is the story where they unmarried. And it
Mhm.
was drawn by Joe Quesada, whose art at that point looked like shit. I'm sorry, I
Whoa,
hate it.
whoa! Hang on a second. That's crazy. I mean, the way he
I don't
draws
give
like
a fuck.
the
I
way
don't
he
give a
draws
fuck. Like the way he
the
drew
way
Marvel Knight's Daredevil looked cool.
the way he draws human faces is pretty weird, but like the way he draws Spider-Man in the costume is epic.
No, no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
that's cap. That's a lie.
No, you're capping.
No, you're lying to yourself, Coco.
What?
It was written by J. Michael Straczynski, who didn't want to do it,
Yeah.
but he
Oh,
did it anyway, so he could
I,
retcon this certain other story that he also hated writing that wasn't his fault.
I thought Quesada wrote One More Day, but J. Michael Straczynski's name was put on it. That's what I read.
No, he no JMS wanted to go uncredited in the last story.
Oh, okay.
In the last issue he
Do we
wrote.
hate?
So basically, they decided to
No, it's
retcon.
not that. He hated it. He hated doing it.
So basically, they decided to retcon Peter and MJ's marriage by having Peter, uh,
Sell
and
his soul to
MJ,
Satan.
yeah, do a deal with the devil. So
In this case, Mephisto,
yeah,
but still
Mephisto.
Satan.
In
And
exchange for their marriage, Aunt May gets to live. And
and
so
personally,
the
I think that's
memory of
bullshit.
them,
Why
That's
the
would you do
memory
that?
of
stupid.
them, the memory of them ever
No shit.
being married, the memory of them ever being married or whatever gets wiped, but deep down their souls still know, and their souls are forever tormented by the knowledge that they're meant to be together, but they can't because Satan said so. And if that
And you
sounds
know what?
familiar, that's because it should, because that story, believe it or not, influenced a much better story, which is No Way Home.
Well, that's true. But also,
Yeah.
fuck Joe Quesada. He's a bitch. You know what? I'm glad he's gone from Marvel. He
Yeah, but
left Marvel
the
this
thing
year.
that the thing that kind of sucks is that despite Joe Quesada being gone, it still seems like the writers who are sort of in control of the Spider-Man comics right now don't
Editors, but
really seem intent on addressing. Like it seemed like they were going to for a while. Like there was this writer called Nick Spencer who came on, and
oh, I
everyone was like,
love
"Oh
his
my
run.
god!" Everyone was like, "Oh my god, he's actually doing it! He's undoing One More Day!" But it didn't happen. And now we have Zeb Wells, who's probably the worst writer we've had in a while, to the point where people want Dan Slott to come back. And it's like,
Well, well, well. I mean, there is one good aspect of that run: the art by John Romita Jr.
no, he's downgraded. His art was way better during the JMS run, for sure.
It's true, but still,
Yeah. But Joe Quesada,
fuck him. He's a bitch. Number two, and I know this is like the most obvious choice for me because I have been open
is it Ian
to
Flynn?
no shit. I have been openly critical of this man's writing. I hate the way it's bland. It's bland as shit. I'm sorry, Ian. Please don't blacklist me.
Okay. So
Please don't blacklist me, Ian Flynn. This is just
I
my personal opinion, dog.
I think that Ian is actually an okay writer. I just
Okay,
think
that's
actually
fine.
I would even go as far as to say that he's good at points, but um
Points. 1 point.
I think the biggest problem with Ian Flynn as a writer is that he
And
tries
Ian
way
Flynn is a Sonic
A bitch.
writer,
well,
so the
Well,
audience
he's written
knows.
other things like Ninja
he's written
Turtles,
for, yeah, he's written for Sonic, Ninja
Mega Man,
Turtles, Power
Mega Man.
Rangers, Mega
Power
Man.
Rangers?
Yeah,
What?
He also did an original comic called
I have that one.
Drogoon.
Drogoon.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't like it very much.
I only read like one issue of it, and I was like, yeah, I'm good.
You
But
mean the only issue that's out?
I didn't even know that. It probably
That
didn't do
shit's as
too well.
obscure as the Lost Ones.
But yeah. So the biggest problem with Ian Flynn is that he plays it way too safe when it comes to his writing. The only time he didn't used to play it safe was during the pre-reboot run of the Archie Sonic comics, which incidentally happens to be the time where he got the most amount of criticism from readers. So I think there's a reason why he tries to play it safe a lot, and that's because
He's pl-
he is
he's
what we
worried of the criticism, right? Is that it?
yeah, he is what we describe as a somewhat cowardly writer. He is
Uh,
too afraid to make controversial decisions. That might,
he's a bitch.
yeah, basically he's a bitch. Um, and
Oh shit!
that's why the pre reboot run is unquestionably his best run because that's when he was actually willing.
I I prefer his Sonic X comics.
Yeah, well, I mean, I never read the X comics, but yeah,
I have
like
them all on
that
my
was
archive. Every Sonic comic and Mega Man comic ever is on my archive.org account,
including Dreamwave.
including Dreamwave.
Okay, that's cool. But yeah, no. And the other problem with Ian Flynn as a writer is also the fact that his stories can go on for too long.
This man is the Clone Saga incarnate. Holy shit!
Like the
All he
Shattered,
writes are these big sprawling epics that nobody wants to read or write about anymore. Just
yeah,
him. It's like, come on, man.
like the
You know,
Shattered,
anyone remember Judas Traveler?
the Shattered
No?
World arc was too long. The fucking Metal Virus arc was too long. The
Too
What?
long.
Don't
fucking
people love the Metal Virus arc?
They
yeah,
people
they
love that
do,
shit.
they
They do,
do.
That was
but even
my
then,
impression.
it's longer.
No,
It is
they
longer
love
than these
specific
nuts.
moments. They love specific moments of it, but it's still too fucking long. And the fucking the Nagas arc is also too fucking long. It,
Oh, that shit.
his biggest
And
problem is that his biggest problem is that he makes his stories too long. Like,
oh, you know what it is? Coco, you know what this is? He's trying to be Sonic's Chris Claremont, who I also really like.
and I feel like his stories would greatly benefit because like each story arc that he writes is like almost like a year long. And I think
Two,
arc,
2 years.
the Shattered World arc, when did the Archie Sonic comics reboot? They rebooted in 2012, right?
2013, I think.
2013. So the Shattered World arc started in 2013, and it ended right before the Archie comics got canceled in what year was it? 2016. So
'17.
that means that the Shattered World arc went on for like 3 to 4 years. Now, I know some people might say, well, technically, there's like arcs in between, and that's true. There's, the Sonic the Fighters
That's
arc.
like this is not an. They're not arcs. They're fucking sagas. Like
But
Metal Virus should have been called a saga. It's not an arc. An arc
yeah,
doesn't last 2 fucking years. Clone
This
Sonic
sounds like
incarnate
we're
head
getting
ass.
into
that's
One
too long.
Piece numbers.
Yeah, it's too
Is
long.
he
Ian, you need to. I don't mind I don't mind long arcs
right?
every now and then, but like he does it all the time, you
He
know?
wants to be no Coco. You don't understand. He's trying to be Sonic's Chris Claremont.
Hmm. I haven't read Claremont's X-Men, so
Oh, I'm gonna archive all of it.
I mean I've read a bit of X-Men Blue.
Ain't that one of the colored ones by Jeff Loeb?
I think I don't know.
Like Hulk
But
Gray
anyway,
and
I
Spider-Man
kind of
Blue?
I kind of overtook for a second there. Nebs, is
No
there anything
shit.
else you can play?
Uh, another creator I don't like very much. is Frank Miller. Because, I mean, he used to be great. He used to be fantastic. And now all he writes is Sin City. Even when he's not writing Sin City. It's always Sin City.
But
And also
Nebs, he
how
wrote The Dark Knight.
he wrote The Dark Knight Returns. Yeah, I fucking know he wrote Returns and Born Again and
How
shit
can you
and Year One.
how can you not like Frank
But
Miller?
he also wrote Spawn Batman
Nah.
and All-Star Batman and Robin and
Mm-hmm.
Superman Year One
Oh,
and
I read
fucking
that.
Holy Terror.
I read Superman Year
Ew.
One.
Holy
It
Terror?
was
Ew.
no,
That's
not Holy
actually
Terror. I read Superman Year One. Oh wait, no, sorry, I'm confusing it. No, not Year One. Sorry, I confused it with Superman for All Seasons.
oh. Well, anyway, Superman Year One and fucking Holy Terror, which ew. 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 That
So
shit's
what
racist as fuck.
do you like about them? Oh, well, right off the bat, that's pretty wild.
Shit's racist as hell. Holy
Mm-hmm.
Terror. Holy these nuts.
Now, is it racist in the sense that it's actually racist, or is it racist in the oh, it takes place in like the 1940s, so of course the characters are going to be racist kind of way?
No, it was supposed to be a homage to World War II comic propaganda in the 1940s, but no.
I mean,
No.
I feel like that kind of explains it a little bit.
But no. They
It's
it
it's
it
kind of like
says
how all the
it
characters
says
are racist as hell in LA
it
Noir.
says it says it's basic it was talking about how if you were Muslim, you were a terrorist. And I'm just like, fuck you.
Hmm.
That's
And then
messed up.
also Dark Knight Strikes Again. I think I think he had this pent up aggression because of 9/11, which oh my god, that's crazy. That is insane. Another creator, the last creator I don't like very much is Rob Liefeld. Bing bong.
The Broken Back Babes. You're telling me you don't like the Broken Back Babes, Nebs?
Yes. And also Captain America, Rob
I actually
Liefeld. Like
I actually kind of have a soft spot for Rob Liefeld's art. Like, there are definitely some
you.
moments where it looks pretty bad, but like one thing
You
I
mean
kind of
every
noticed,
moment ever?
one thing
Is
I kind
this
of
like
noticed
the
about,
ass and titties pose?
yeah,
Yes.
he's the guy who drew like that weird, you know, that weird Captain America cover where like his chest is like tilted but his body isn't, and it looks really weird because like his chest should just be ripping off his body for that pose to even be possible. It's that one. But like I don't
And
know,
also
there are times when his art looks
he
kind of
wrote
okay.
he in Youngblood number 10, like in Spawn, one of Rob Liefeld's characters, Chapel, was supposed to be the one who killed Spawn.
I
But you
actually
know what
read that
happens in Youngblood number 10?
one.
It turns out this guy has a government fucking version of HIV, and then he kills himself
Oh
just because it
yeah,
would be cool.
I read that actually. I remember that.
And
I didn't read any of the dialogue though because it was very wordy, and when there's too many words on a
come on,
page.
Rob Liefeld can't write. He can't draw. He certainly can't
Well,
fucking.
like his
He's not an art.
anatomy, I
He's
feel
a
like
whore.
some people are gonna be kind of offended by this, but like Rob Liefeld's anatomy to me, it looks like what you would get if Eiichiro Oda was a Western comic book artist instead of a manga artist.
True.
Gotta be shitting me.
True.
Like
He's not
that's
anything like Eiichiro Oda.
that's what Rob Liefeld's art looks like. And obviously the reason why Rob Liefeld's art looks weird, unlike Oda's, is because Oda's is very cartoony, so any weird anatomy that Oda has going on, Oda can get away with that. But like Liefeld,
Can he though?
Well, I mean,
Can
sometimes, not all
he?
the time. But like Liefeld tries to make like his art style, it kind of leans towards like exaggerated reality, which is a term that we use in Western comics, talking about
More
when
like
you're being
exaggerate these nuts.
when you're trying to be semi-realistic, but at the same time you're trying to sort of be hyper exaggerating certain features. It doesn't work. Like that kind of
And
weird
all his
anatomy.
characters are
That kind
gritting their teeth.
yeah.
Generally,
And
I
also
associate what you're describing with fetish art.
he's indirectly responsible for the comic book crash of the mid 90s.
But he created Deadpool.
Yeah,
Nice.
not really. He created the design. That's like he's not. It's not. He created some jackass.
Yeah, but like
Deadpool. I'd say Gail Simone
it's kind of like how we.
created Deadpool,
Whoa, hang on
like
a
our
second.
Deadpool.
That's wild. But anyway, it's kind of like how we say Todd McFarlane created Venom, even though he didn't write Venom, he just drew him, right?
It's nothing like that. At least
Venom
I.
is pretty iconic looking, though.
Yeah.
But Todd didn't write Venom. He just made the
Well,
design.
I mean, he did write Spider-Man, but not Venom.
Yeah, he wrote Spider-Man 1990, and none of those
I
issues
just call
featured
it.
Venom.
I just call it adjectiveless. But we're not.
No,
I.
because there's multiple
There's going to
adjectives,
be
so you have to be
no.
specific.
Adjectiveless
There's an
Spider-Man.
adjectiveless Spider-Man. There's an adjectiveless Spider-Man starring Miles Morales. So like you have to be specific. Spider-Man
No,
1990.
no. There is no. No, it's Miles Morales Spider-Man. What are you talking about?
Yeah, there's an adjectiveless. It's Spider-Man 2017 or something like that.
That's that's the cartoon.
I can link it to you when we're done. But yeah,
No, no. There's
Rob
there's going to
Liefeld,
be there
make
is
your
going to
art
be a
style.
new adjectiveless Spider-Man by
Yeah,
Dan
um,
Slott.
and Mark Bagley, whatever.
Mark
But
Bagley, that's true. But also Dan Slott. Ugh.
Rob Liefeld, make your characters' faces a bit more cartoony, and people will look at your art less funny. Just look
Come on,
at
he's not
like
come on,
just
there's no
look
way
at
you can do a Mike Warwingo.
just look at Oda and be like, okay, this guy's art kind of looks like mine, but like better. So I'm gonna copy this guy. Um,
Don't
but
don't
yeah,
copy that guy. Don't copy
just
that
do that.
guy's art. You copied Darkseid, Rob Liefeld.
But yeah, I think
You copied Wolverine
Rob Liefeld's art was definitely at its
and
worst in
Cable.
terms of at its worst in terms of anatomy, like in the 90s. I'd say recently he's definitely improved somewhat.
Oh, he's improved. Is he still
The,
chronically late?
the guy just needs to learn how to draw feet because he doesn't
He
draw
ne-
feet.
he need he needs to learn how to draw art in time.
And unfortunately he is still chronically late because I forget what it's called. There was this one comic that he was supposed to get out because he does stuff with Marvel again now, much to
Are you shitting
McFarlane.
me?
And there was this one comic he was supposed to get out, but I forget what it's called. And he got it like a year after it was supposed to come out. Like, what the fuck, dude? What's going on?
I have a
So
question. Did
yeah,
is
All
this
right,
the
what's your
guy
fucking
that
question?
is this the guy that did the new 52 Starfire who had like the giant boobs?
no, I don't think.
No,
No.
I don't think
he
Life.
did the new 52 Hawk and Dove.
Yeah,
Who did the new 52 Starfire with the giant
Are
boobs?
you talking about Red Hood and the Outlaws?
I just remember people getting upset about it like years and years
Yeah, the
ago
Red Hood and the
because it looked so
Outlaws
ridiculous.
Starfire. That was
mm.
bad. I don't know who did the art, although I think it was Scott Lobdell who wrote it.
Rob Liefeld has done. I actually didn't know he did work on DC. Most of the work he's done is like for Marvel and Image. But like his career at Image didn't
He
really
co-created Cable.
last.
I guess that works.
It didn't really last. So then he ended up, doing work for Marvel with that Avengers Reborn shit. It was really bad.
Ew!
Um,
Wait, hang on. No, I have the Heroes Reborn Fantastic Four, and it's pretty okay.
Yeah, but like the Heroes Reborn Avengers thing was like really bad. Like
Whoa,
Rob
whoa, whoa,
Liefeld.
whoa, whoa! I think Aarlon should go. I think Coco. You should go next, Coco.
No, I'll go last. Wait, are
All
you done
right,
with all of them?
I'm done.
Okay. All right, Arlon, you go.
That was a lot. So, for one, I was wondering, like, why
We
is
actually
Nebz
managed to get
so?
some like that. I can't believe it.
Why is Nebs
I was
so
wondering,
what?
why is Nebz like so excited to do this podcast episode? I was like confused, and now I realize, oh, it's because he gets to talk about comics for his whole segment. Uh, I
Well,
No, it's
what's
because I get to talk shit about people.
what's funny about Nebs' segment is that like three of the people that he had listed, I have listed, so that's like half of my list just gone.
I kind of misunderstood the prompt. When I heard creators, my head kind of went to like YouTube creators and like
That's
influencers and
fine.
stuff.
Go with YouTube. Go with
So I
them.
Basically,
was
Go with
kind
them.
of
anyone,
I hate influencers too. Go ahead. I'll go
I just
crazy.
didn't realize that my options were so broad, so all my people are mostly like YouTubers. Uh,
anyone who creates.
Anyone who creates
okay.
is fine. Go
Yeah.
crazy,
Well,
cause I will too.
I guess I'll have a couple of additions on the fly, but I guess I'll start with the people I hate,
Oh my
because I
god.
want to get that out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, briefly, I just like a couple of like the dumb, uh, like alt alt right type, like adjacent, anime YouTubers that people constantly link
You mean
in the
like Rev
discords.
Desu and Hiro
Who?
Hey and
Oh, them.
No, like that critical drinker guy.
oh, I thought you said anime tubers. Sorry.
Is is he not an anime? I guess he talks about like
Critical
just
Critical Drinker just
pop
talks about like
culture.
Western. He just talks about Western
Okay.
movies and stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
I
not.
feel like yeah, him, that anime snob.
Who?
Yeah, people in that kind of vein that
Wait,
like
would you describe that anime snub as right wing? I mean, I wouldn't describe either of them as right wing personally, because but
definite. I feel like whenever I like play a video of theirs on top of like having a completely wrong opinion about something, they'll like
Mhm.
be they'll like just throw in a remark like, "Oh, wokeness." I don't know.
See,
Yeah,
here's
I
the
That's
never
thing.
just the
understood that either.
impression I get
I
from
would
what
be, I would
little I've
be
seen.
like under normal circumstances, I would agree that the talking points they have sound pretty right wing. But one thing I've realized is that like when it comes to people with that in that sort of community, a lot of the reasons, well, I mean, for one thing, the reason why it's easy to assume that people in that community are right wing is because a lot of them actually are. So that's one thing. I'm definitely not saying that there aren't any because a lot of them definitely are. But like, I think of guys like just some guy who's like, he's mostly like a comics person. He doesn't really do movies, but
He's
I
a
suppose
comics gator.
he started branching out. But like, he's actually left
At
wing.
Otaku, there's another one.
Like he's actually left wing and he actually got into some controversy for being like outspoken against stuff like the don't say gay bill and stuff like that. And it was really funny because like the entire like community just like turned their back on him. But like that was the
Man.
moment when I realized, oh yeah, there definitely are some people like in this corner of the internet who talk about like, oh, woke media this and that, who probably aren't right wing, like in terms of actual politics. They just don't like what's happening with mainstream media. That's why I like, even though there's definitely some overlap between the two, I tend to try and avoid assuming what people's actual politics are based on their opinions on pop culture.
I
But
get
that's
it.
me
I
personally.
guess it doesn't help that like the people linking it, I know what their politics are. So it's like the
Mm.
fact that these people really like those creators immediately makes me kind of raise an eyebrow. But
Yeah.
I guess I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but I
I mean,
still
it doesn't
completely
help that a
disagree with
lot of
them
them,
aesthetically.
like, there are guys like Nerdrotic and
Oh,
Geeks and Gamers who are pretty openly like right wing. Like, they get defensive about the fact that people criticize them for voting for Donald Trump. So there definitely are
what?
people in that side of the
Yo, this is
community.
why I don't vote, dog.
There are definitely
Bruh.
some people in that side of the community who are right wing for sure. Or like Eric July. Like, it's so
Oh,
awkward
I
because
heard about that guy.
there's a lot of things like with Eric July that I agree with, but unfortunately, there's a lot of things that I also disagree with. Like, for one thing, like, I follow him on Twitter, and for one thing, it's kind of unfortunate that anytime he talks about like trans people, for example, he refers to them as people with mental issues, and I'm like, oh,
Ugh.
okay, that's that's unfortunate. Uh,
What the fuck?
and it's like, oh man, that sucks. But meh. But anyway, did you have what was your next one?
Yeah, I haven't really heard of any of those people. But yeah, I only mention those few because I wouldn't say I hate them per se. I just get annoyed seeing them linked all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so we already talked about uh off podcast that I really dislike Destiny. And there's plenty of people
Oh,
out there worse than Destiny, but my feelings about Destiny are painted by the fact that uh I used to be a huge fan of his. At one point I probably would have described him as my favorite person.
you
That's
said
Uh
you didn't like him though.
well, I don't like him anymore.
no, in the
So,
past.
yeah, in the past, like probably like
Destiny
3.
is a debate goblin, and Aarlon is also a debate goblin, so the appeal was like instant.
Yeah.
I don't know who he is.
Like, Aarlon was like,
He's
he's
a
just like me for real.
he's a politics streamer. Yeah,
Nope,
in many ways, Coco. Uh
nope.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
even gonna think about it anymore. Fuck that guy. Immediately.
he's a debate bro as they call them.
yeah, he's a
But
A
debate bro.
debate, bro.
so
Yeah,
like the disconnect between like what I thought he was like 3 years ago when I was a fan and what he's become is just really unsettling to me. It's almost like a little bit embarrassing. That's like, ugh. Like seeing the way he acts now and the fact that I used to be like a hardcore fan of this person, just I don't know. It reflects poorly on me, I feel like. Uh
Yeah. I used to
wait,
follow certain creators too, and
but
then they
I
started talking
like
shit about me.
Destiny. Are you saying that it reflects poorly on me that I like Destiny? What?
not not exactly because you come you come from a different position, Coco, because you're moving over from worse content creators to Destiny, and I moved from better content creators to Destiny. So it has a different connotation, kind of.
So, like, Destiny is in fact the center.
I wouldn't say that. Uh, but yeah, my problems with Destiny are kind of twofold. One is with like, uh, there's kind of a mentality that I feel like he's fostered in his community of
Mhm,
like, it's like this popcorn mentality. I guess you could call it like irony poisoning, that
mhm,
everything is kind of just like a spectacle to them. It's always like, man, these are such good memes. And, they make like a bunch of memes about everything. And even if
mm,
it's like something super serious or like, if Destiny does something really bad, there's always this sentiment that I see that I really uh hate, that's like, love him or hate him, agree with the things he's doing or not, he sure is entertaining. I
Hmm.
just,
He doesn't
I
sound
really,
entertaining.
I just don't like the idea of like trivializing serious subjects and just turning it into like a fun game when it's not.
Well, the thing that's
Is
kind
that
of
what I'm
interesting,
guessing? That's what this Disney guy does.
the thing that's kind of interesting about Destiny with that is it's like to some extent you could probably say that he does have, I don't know, some level of investment in those political like conversations that he has. It's just sort of interesting because like he's pretty much said that, yeah, my main reason for doing this is really just because I really like arguing with people. I mean, he does say that he
Yeah.
wants to sort
Jesus
of
Christ.
he does say that he
Nope.
wants to sort of spread his ideas like around, but like part of it is definitely just the fact that he finds arguing with people really entertaining,
What the
which I
fuck?
find which I find kind of funny in a way because whenever he's in a
That's
debate,
crazy.
he always looks like he wants to be anywhere but in that debate. So I can't say I get where he's coming from when he says that.
Sometimes he wakes up and then he's invested looking again.
Yeah, but it's
Uh,
like yeah.
and
I mean,
then the other
I feel like
reason,
that's just a. I feel like it's definitely. I don't know. Maybe we have this in the UK too, but I feel like there's definitely a thing in America where there's taking actual political issues and like turning it into entertainment. Like you have all these political
oh,
commentators who basically
for
like
sure.
we don't really have that here. We have people who try to, like the Lotus Eaters or whatever. I don't really watch them, or like Paul Joseph Watson, but he talks mostly about American stuff.
Who?
So it's like, yeah, I don't know.
He's
Like you
an
have,
Infowars guy.
yeah, he's an Infowars guy, and so it's like, you know, from
Oh, that meme. Oh, the meme men with the fucking gay
Yeah,
frog shit?
Alex
so
Jones. It's the
from
same
across the pond,
organization.
I'm just like, damn, it's but then at the same time I kind of appreciate it because even if it's not necessarily the best way to get informed about stuff, it is a way to get informed about stuff, especially younger people who don't have the attention span for reading or watching the news. Like that's how
Mike, you
that's
listen to news?
like the political entertainment sphere is pretty much how I know as much as I do, which admittedly isn't a lot compared to some people, but like it's more than the average person, I think.
The thing is, I don't mind politics being entertaining, but I think
Hmm.
there's a difference
But
between that and like
but
having this attitude of like spamming the like Pepe laugh popcorn emote, like haha,
Oh
this is
yeah,
just like all like it's like the people who like it's like how Trump basically got elected because the
he
memes
memed
were
his
so
way into
good.
office.
Yeah. I
he
think
did
it's
meme
that
his way into
same
office, and
mentality
I think
that
that's
gave us
hilarious.
Trump.
Yeah, but that's why, as we approach, midterms, Biden's doing it too with Dark Brandon and stuff. There you go.
Ugh.
What
Dark
who the fuck
Brandon.
is that?
It's a
The
very dumb meme.
there was this meme where during a race, a car race or whatever, like a NASCAR thing, people in the
I thought it
audience
was Daytona.
people were saying "fuck Joe Biden" in the audience, like they were chanting "fuck Joe Biden," and then like the what do you call it, host or whatever of the race, she was like, "Oh, they're saying let's go Brandon." So like the right started sort of saying let's go Brandon everywhere on the internet, which is basically just like a is I don't know, is dog whistle the correct term for
I
fuck
guess.
Joe Biden?
It's their second joke.
Yeah,
They have
for
two
fuck Joe
jokes.
Biden. And
There's a third.
so recently,
Oh shit.
the left, I guess you could say, kind of appropriated it and turned it into Dark Brandon, where Biden has suddenly Biden has suddenly started doing things that they actually want. So they're like, "Oh, Dark Brandon is here. Yeah, let's go," or something. I don't fucking know.
The baby.
Arlon, you probably know more about it than I do. What is the origins of the Dark Brandon meme? I think it's
Well, I
something
mean,
along those lines.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think we should
You
get back into the
basically,
topic though.
okay,
It's
I'll just explain it real quick. I think
yeah.
it started out as like leftists more making fun of Joe Biden. That like, the joke is that like actually he's just like a dumb old guy that does nothing. But they're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's like what the Republicans think he is or whatever. But then
Mm-hmm.
the liberals caught on and they started using the Dark Brandon memes unironically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I
So,
definitely get what you mean when you talk about like the whole. Because I remember, well, not remember, but like every time I watch a debate, it's usually like most of the time the in the chat it is in fact people just spamming memes or like Westony or Lestony or whatever
mhm.
and stuff like that. It's a lot of the time it's basically people like blood sports, you know. But yeah, no, I
Yeah.
definitely know.
The other reason, no, I was gonna say the other reason I don't like Destiny is that he's just kind of an asshole, and I think you should lead by example and
Hmm.
not teach your audience to be internet bullies. You should be
Yeah,
teaching them to, you know, convince people with love. Well, that
Arlon.
was the I made it through the creators I hate, okay. Destiny was always going to be the long one because I have a lot of
What?
feelings
You
about
were
him,
gonna
okay?
talk about Kafals. You don't want to incur the rage of
No,
Kafals'
I don't
community. You
I
don't want to
feel the
get your
same
social
way.
media cancelled.
I my problems towards Destiny apply to Keffals too. She's
Hmm.
just not obviously not nearly as bad in that regard, in my opinion. But I
Oh,
feel the
is
same
that
way,
the
kind
one
of
with
that.
the Kiwi Farms?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kafals
I
is
don't
the
know. If,
one
I
who. Yeah.
I don't like the whole ratio thing and all that, but whatever. She's not a creator I hate.
I think
Um,
she stopped doing that.
n- I I feel like I saw her do it like a week ago. Uh,
Probably. Also, Kafals, if you're watching this, unblock me.
I've heard some
uh,
crazy things about that person. My
well,
boyfriend was saying, oh, she did this, that, and the third. I'm just like, okay,
yeah. Kiwi Farms is spreading a lot of rumors, and I wouldn't trust anything unless you have a good source for it, you know?
There
I
was a
think my
lot of
my
stuff that's
I think
said
my
about
boyfriend's a good
Kafals.
source.
There's a lot of stuff that's said about Keffals, some of which is false and some of which is true, but we're probably not going to go into that here. All right,
Yeah.
next,
No,
I
Arlo.
have
I,
no issue with Keffals. So,
I
okay,
think my
creators
boyfriend's
I
a good
love.
source.
I think so the Vlog brothers, John and Hank Green, I think they're like the perfect like counterexample to like the Destiny stuff. They are such good positive dudes who are able to still like spread a political message or whatever, but they do it in a kind and good way.
But
Uh,
Arlon, being kind and good is so boring.
but
Who cares?
they're still entertaining while they do it, in my opinion.
Blood
It's
sports,
just
damn
not in
it.
a distasteful way.
Yeah, go on,
Um,
Arlon.
Drawfee, the whole Drawfee crew, they are just so
Oh,
good.
yeah.
They're like, for one, they're all woke kings and queens. Uh, but on top of that, they're so funny. Drawfee is like the highlight of my week whenever they put out a video. I I really want to do like a Drawfee type episode on the social discharge because we have plenty of artists here. We could do an episode where we draw crazy wacky stuff.
By plenty, we have like three, but that's enough.
Draw.
Yeah, that's enough.
Mm,
They they usually only have 3 people draw at a time on Drawfee anyway. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's enough. Okay, third creator. Since we can do people that aren't YouTubers, Brandon Sanderson. Nebz, do you know Brandon Sanderson? I know Coco hasn't read him. He's an author.
Okay.
So Brandon Sanderson, he's like, he mostly does fantasy, as far as I know, and he writes these big ass books, and he
Did he
writes
write?
a
Did he write the
fuck ton of
season
them.
whatever?
What?
I'm probably thinking of someone else. The person who wrote the 5th season book or whatever it's called.
Are you
I
thinking
don't
of Game of
think
Thrones?
so.
No, I'm not
That's
thinking
Cap.
of it. Go on, Aarlon.
But wait, sorry, I'm looking up 5th season just to make sure. I don't think. Yeah, no, not him.
Okay.
He wrote the Stormlight Archive books, is like the big one. Uh,
Yeah.
and so yeah, he writes like for one like a ton of books. You might have seen posted around like the Kickstarter he did, where he's like, I wrote like 5 secret books. He just like wrote a bunch of extra books on top of everything else. So he puts out like a ton of stuff. And it's like all doing like a MCU type thing where it's his books are like all in the same universe and like crossing over a bit. But they're all like
I want
really
to be able to
good.
do that sort of thing, but it also seems like it requires an insane amount of effort.
Yeah. And the
Uh,
crossovers, at least so far, aren't like so they're not like overbearing. Like you don't have to read all the books to appreciate one of them.
Mm.
Uh, I just like the message in general of his books. It's always like pretty positive. It's like
like
a little bit lib, but it's I really like
lib,
Brandon
A little bit
Sanderson.
lib, get that shit out of here, bro.
huh?
Yeah. I love his books. I've promoted them to like all my friends and family.
Mm.
I guess since I'm a friend, you promoted it today. I can't speak
Drop,
English.
drop them in the library chat. All right, who's your
It's
next
a
creator?
library chat. I
Oh
don't
Yeah,
man,
there
I
is.
talk
should
in the
have put all my.
library chat because I know no one else here reads books.
There's a
Oh,
library chat.
Miriam reads books. He's just barely active because he has a real job now.
Well,
Lucky bastard.
I don't think Delirium has read Brandon Sanderson because he doesn't talk about it in One Piece when I talk about it there.
Is
Mm-hmm.
there so where's the library chat? Oh, there it is. I see it.
It's
Yeah,
under
it's
Western
third from the
Comics.
bottom.
I should have
All
linked
right,
all my Spider-Man comics in there.
next.
Um, I think yeah, I listed off 3. I'll just throw in there George Fan. He's a game developer. He made Plants vs Zombies and Insane Aquarium. And well, okay, the original Plants vs Zombies is really good. And then EA bought PopCap
Oh,
and
oh
they
dear.
made Plants vs Zombies 2 and George Fan was like, hey guys, I really don't like that you're trying to put all these microtransactions and stuff in here. And EA
Mm-hmm.
was like, you're fired.
No.
But yeah, I really like his games, and they've been a huge inspiration for my own
We
game
own this
development
shit now.
endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
I
What
think,
assholes. Fuck EA. EA
yeah,
are fucking
fuck
whores.
EA.
EA,
EA should go on
EA,
the creators I hate list.
EA,
I,
EA
I'm adding a
needs
9th.
to go bankrupt. Bankrupt EA.
True.
Well, they would, but like, unfortunately, the FIFA community in England is kind of like carrying their company right now. I wish I could
Yeah.
find a way to stop them from doing that, but I can't.
Um,
The good thing is that the biggest FIFA tubers don't play FIFA anymore, so Maybe that will help.
Is that the Sidemen? I hate
Yeah.
every influencer.
I,
Every
I,
influencer ever. Fuck
I,
Jake Paul! No!
I like
Fuck the
KSI.
Hype House.
KSI is cool. You
Fuck
know.
them.
Anyways, I guess it's my turn.
You're good.
I was quickly trying to rearrange my lists so that I can still have 8 people to say because I think I had like 2 shared with Nebs. Okay,
I'm sorry.
so I'm gonna start with no, it's fine. I'm gonna start with Some Call Me Johnny is a creator that I love. And I like Some Call Me Johnny. He's the first video game reviewer I ever watched on YouTube as a kid. Uh, he's pretty cool. His earlier style of videos, like his earliest style, the content he made back in like 2008, whatever, it's kind of AVGN-esque. Like you can tell that Angry Video Game Nerd is like a pretty big influence to his work, but like he wasn't as much of a ripoff of AVGN as like Irate Gamer or something.
No, that
Like
was my introduction.
he
Irate Gamer.
definitely that's unfortunate.
I'm
But
sorry.
he definitely brought like his own unique like it wasn't just raging all the time. Like he actually brought in like some pretty solid commentary on the games he was talking about, which was pretty cool. Um
Thank you,
But
Kanye.
recently, his like style of content has gotten less
Bad.
focused on. It's less focused on being entertaining and more on being. I don't know if informative is being the word because like saying informative would be more like
A
he's
lie.
telling you about the game, but like it's more like it's less about skits and comedy and more about like him just giving his thoughts of the game, which is pretty cool. But he doesn't shy away from being from skits when appropriate. He just doesn't feel the need to inject them in everything like he kind of used to in the past. My accent is all over the place. Holy fuck! This is what
You
happens
have
when
an
you're.
accent?
This is what happens when you're British, but talk to American people all the time. Fucking hell. Um,
Hey yo, what I do?
because I was about to say past, and and it
Yeah,
really
I
threw
would
me.
not know you were British if I didn't know you were British.
Yeah. No, it leaks in and out sometimes, like it was just about to there, and it really caught me off guard. That's why it threw me off. But yeah, yeah. Wait, what was I saying, Devin? Oh yeah, no. So it's not centered around comedy and being entertaining. Now it's centered more around like giving his thoughts on the game, but he doesn't shy away from injecting humor and personality and it's here and there. My favorite review of his is probably his review of Shadow the Hedgehog. Um,
Oh my god.
I mean, my his Sonic reviews are my favorite out of them all, primarily because I got into his content by watching his Sonic reviews. In fact, in the past, his Sonic reviews were pretty much the only reviews I'd ever
In the
watched.
past.
In the in the past, but as I've started broadening my horizons when it comes to gaming, the way a lot of Sonic fans simply refuse to do, I started watching a lot of his other reviews as well, and you know they're pretty cool. Uh, he's probably one of my biggest influences as far as wanting to make reviews, even though I never really got
Yeesh.
around. I mean, I've made like a few reviews, but they're very cringe and I don't recommend watching them. I mean, I only have one of them uploaded anyway, of Metal Gear Solid 5 when I made it when I was like 15 and it's really cringe. Don't watch it. I think I might have even privated it just because I don't want people to watch it. But I mean, it's
I
there.
I used to make a
Um
review series on YouTube.
and I
Now
kind
I
of oh no, gone.
I used to make a review series on YouTube, but now I don't because that's bullshit.
That's fair. But
Right.
yeah, no, yeah, he's pretty cool. I know that he is somewhat controversial amongst certain parts of the Sonic fandom because
Me,
he's one of the people who, uh,
I do know. Fuck him.
perpetuates the idea that the dark age of Sonic, which is 2002 to 2008, was
Cap,
pretty
2005 to 2008.
well. It depends on who you ask, but yeah, like if you ask like the most hardcore classic fans, it was 2002, right? So,
Actually,
um,
if you ask them, it'd be 1999.
yeah, probably. Pretty much,
Gatekeeping dumbass
basically,
bitches.
the moment they ditched the classic aesthetic, right? But anyway, but I think that a lot of the stuff that he has to say about video games, especially the Sonic franchise,
Oh yeah.
tends to be correct a lot of the time. Um, for example, for example, that Sonic 06 might be a pretty bad game, but you know what? It's definitely not the worst one. And I used to think he was insane when he said that, but having played Sonic and the Secret Rings,
Oh,
um,
I didn't play that one. I didn't play Secret Rings.
having played Sonic and the Secret Rings, I think it's totally fair to say that Sonic 06 is definitely not the worst Sonic game. The
Yeah,
worst.
that job
I
goes to
mean,
Lost World.
True.
he does argue that Shadow the Hedgehog is worse than 06, which I think some people might question. But yeah,
I think I'd agree because the gameplay of Shadow is like pretty bad,
Oh.
yeah.
pretty unpolished.
Well, I don't know if it's worse. I haven't played Shadow, so I can't really say for sure. But
I
yeah,
don't watch any Sonic videos anymore
but
because
yeah,
I get recommended Archie bad videos.
mm. But yeah, Some Call Me Johnny is pretty cool. Oh yeah,
Archie,
I recommend watching his content. He's pretty cool.
I don't.
My next creator that I love is Akira Toriyama. Okay,
Yeah. Now we're getting
so
into some territory. Let's go.
this guy
Like
is
that
God.
pronunciation.
Okay, okay, let's not go too far. Oh shit.
This guy is God, and that's pretty much all I have
He's
to say about
God. He's God.
that.
All right.
Okay,
No, no, no.
okay.
Explain
So
yourself.
Akira Toriyama is probably my favorite mangaka of all time, which is really funny to me because I have so many things I
Uh,
dislike about Toriyama at the same time. Um, he, he's probably, well, he's probably one of the biggest influences on me as an artist. I don't know if I would say he's the biggest. Um, like Dragon Ball was definitely one of the things that inspired me to make comics, but before Dragon Ball, there was Naruto, but I'll get to Masashi Kishimoto in a second. Um, so I just really like Akira Toriyama's work. His art is pretty cool. I've tried to study his art style, but
it's crazy.
it's difficult to do
I'd
sometimes.
I'd
Um,
ask for you to study Nakatsuru's style, but it's literally just the same style.
But one of the things I actually kind of like, even though it's one of Toriyama's biggest flaws, one of the things I actually kind of admire about him is his ability to just write his stories without giving a single fuck. Because I think
Oh shit.
one of the things that kind of stops me from making literally anything is how much I plan and replan, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cringe. I'm gonna throw that out the window and start over from scratch. And I just do that over and over and over again without
He
ever
just
actually,
posts the cringe. He doesn't
without,
care.
yeah, pretty much. Without ever, like, I just do that over and over without ever actually thinking about it. Like, I'm not even, like, basically, I'm a plotter and I'm way too much of a plotter. Like, way too much. I'm just way too stuck in the weeds. Whereas Toriyama is just like, Toriyama is just like, wouldn't it be fucking cool if Goku had a new transformation where he has like really long hair and no eyebrows? No, I'm not going to explain why he never used it before and could have put this arc to an end like 5 chapters ago. I'm just going to introduce it because it's cool. And I'm like, you know what? Yes, it is pretty fucking cool. I mean, yes, I'm still going to
Super
ask
Saiyan 3
why
is pretty cool.
like 10 chapters ago on Vegeta, but it's still a pretty cool fucking transformation, so fuck it. Like, I just admire that to a certain extent. I do wish that he would put. I mean, I think he kind of does that now, and mainly because he's not the one who's actually writing Dragon Ball anymore. But like, I do, I would have preferred if he did put a little bit more consideration into his work when writing. But like in in the early days of Dragon Ball, it didn't really matter because like Dragon Ball wasn't. I would argue that it wasn't really story driven. Like it didn't
Yeah, it
have
was a
much of a.
comedy.
It didn't
Gag
have much of
flick.
a. Yeah,
It had
pretty
the
much.
funny.
It didn't have a plot. But then, as happens with all shonen manga, you have the time skip, you have the shift in direction, slight change in art style, and things, it was more story driven. And in a lot of cases it worked, in some cases it didn't. Obviously, there's the infamous clearly building up to Gohan becoming the protagonist since the very beginning and then just
Ugh.
deciding not to do it. Um, but interestingly enough, while I would have preferred Toriyama living up to that promise, it actually doesn't bother me as much as it does most people. Like, yeah,
Ooh.
I would have
Ah!
actually preferred, I would have preferred if he lived up to that because, like, it's pretty clear from like the very beginning, like since the Saiyan saga, it's pretty clear that that's where we're headed, right? But like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me that much that like it didn't happen. I just would have preferred it. Now, it kind of looks like there's a possibility that they might be living up to it with stuff like Dragon Ball Superhero. I don't
Let's
know. We'll
go.
see when Dragon Ball Super comes back. But
That is
well,
if.
yeah, if Dragon Ball Super comes back. Hopefully with the same quality of animation that we've been seeing in One Piece lately, and not the shit-tacular
What about Super
animation
Broly?
that it had. It's the same guy, the same lead animator.
The
Um,
same director, right?
yeah,
No, the supervisor.
that would be cool. But
That
yeah,
would be cool.
and then another creator I love, who pretty much had the same effect on me is Masashi Kishimoto. Now, even though I
Eh?
hold I hold Toriyama in slightly higher regard than Kishimoto, um, I like Kishimoto kind of has like a special place in my heart because Naruto was like the first manga I ever read, ever, and I still
My
look
first
back
manga was Detective Conan.
I still look back fondly on when Naruto got me in trouble with my mom because my mom saw the page where there's sex and jutsu, and my mom
Bruh.
confiscated the volume. And I was like, "Yeah, but mom, that's not mine. I actually have to." And it actually wasn't mine. I had to give it back to a friend. So it's like I had to steal it from my mom to give it back to my friend. But like, I remember, like, basically, Naruto was like the first comic I ever read. Like even before Spider-Man and shit like that. Like that was the first sequential art thing I ever consumed, and that was when I really sort of got into drawing. I used to do like these really bad drawings of Naruto, and I was like, "Oh man, I want to make my own comics. This is cool stuff." I mean, back then I used to, just make Naruto, but like redraw Naruto, but have everyone call Naruto Tammy. And I used to
This
try
is like
and I used to try to
such an
emulate.
archetypical nerd experience, Coco. You could hardly get any more cliche.
Yeah. And I used to like this was before I even really like seriously started trying to learn how to draw. Because I used to be so far up my own ass about how good I was at drawing that I never actually felt the need to like learn. Um, and I used to like try and emulate Kishimoto's art style. And yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because even when I did start trying to sort of make my own stuff, like I would very heavily borrow concepts from Kishimoto's work. Like I had a character who had a multiple tailed beast sealed inside of them and stuff like that. And I feel like the influence of like Kishimoto is still kind of like the influence of a lot of the people like artists I like is still somewhat visible in my work nowadays, just not quite to the extent of when I was younger. Like when I was younger, I would just take something that Toriyama did or Kishimoto did and just put it in a work of my own. But yeah, Kishimoto is pretty cool. Um,
He
You
had
the
a
know,
twin
it's
seven
brother who
funny
was
you say
accused of
that.
ripping off his twin brother.
What?
what?
I think I was told that he had a twin brother who also did a manga, and he was accused of ripping off Naruto.
No, like Kishimoto has a brother. I can't remember what his name is, but he did a manga called 666 Satan, and
What?
six. Well, I mean, in the West, it's called OFMO Parts Hunter, but in Japan, it's called 666 Satan. And
Okay, okay.
the manga is literally just a ripoff of Dragon Ball. Like,
Oh,
like the plot is basically like it's if Masashi Kishimoto drew Dragon Ball, basically. I actually recommend it because it's not half bad if you're willing to read something that's like a blatant ripoff of something else. Uh, if you're not, then don't waste your time. But yeah. Also, what did you say, Arlon? Nebs said
wait.
something.
Oh, I was gonna say
Oh,
it's kind of funny you're talking about this because I think I would say uh the biggest influence on my art style with Big Billy is Kishimoto.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
who?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait. What do you mean, who,
Big
Nebs?
Billy?
Kishimoto, the creator of Naruto. Damn it.
No,
I
Big
was
Billy,
like,
dog.
Oh, Big Billy.
that's
That's his
my
comic.
comic, Nebs. How could you? You
Oh,
haven't read Big Billy?
And he
How
shouted it out
dare you,
on this
sir?
podcast multiple times.
Big Billy's Adventure Everywhere
I'm
dot
so tired.
XYZ.
But yeah,
Go and read
next
it.
next creator, Carl Bowlers.
Yeah,
Um,
let's go! Woohoo!
he's one of my favorite writers on the Archie Sonic. Actually, I'd probably go as far as to say he is my favorite writer on the Archie Sonic comics. Um, there's a lot of writing tropes
Me too.
that he puts in his work that I kind of incorporate into mine. Such
Colors,
as
yeah, I like that.
yeah, such as unnecessarily injecting heavy amounts of romance drama where there really doesn't need to be
Wait,
any. Uh, but
that's
nah, but
crazy.
he's probably my favorite writer in the Archie Sonic comics because he was arguably the best at compromising between incorporating elements from the Sonic American Bible and incorporating elements from, the Japanese stuff. Um, unlike, say, Ken Penders, who was pretty much exclusively interested in just doing his own stuff, and Ian
And
Flynn,
Ian
who
Flynn, who's
was,
just games. Fuck him.
yeah, who did games. Like, Carl
Fuck him.
Bowler was pretty good at sort of being the middle part of that. And also his stories were arguably the most interesting ones because Ken Penders also had a tendency to not like he would write like stories like he didn't play it safe like Ian does, but like I didn't like Ken Penders stories because they were too wordy and like they were kind of complicated. So that was the thing I kind of liked about Carl Bowlers is like he also didn't play it safe, but like it didn't feel like there was a lot to keep track of to understand what is actually happening in these stories, you know?
Oh, like the MCU?
Yeah. Pretty much. Kind of.
I'm
I mean,
never buying a Sonic comic from Ken Penders again.
it was kind of like that because there was a time where they had the Knuckles and Sonic comic going on at the same time, and you actually had to read some issues of the Knuckles comic to know what the hell the characters are talking about, and the Sonic comic, which was kind of annoying. But yeah, Carl Bowlers is pretty cool. Um, and unlike Ken Penders, he's actually moved on with his life from Sonic the Hedgehog because Carl Bowlers doesn't need Sonic to stay relevant. He's currently is he still head editor at Valiant Comics,
I
Nebs?
don't know what I don't know. I gotta take a look at it. What's Carl Buller's doing?
Yeah,
Actually, I
but I know that he wrote like a Sherlock Holmes comic, but it's it's a race swapped one, so you know. But but I don't know. I'll probably give that a look sometime because Carl Bollers is a good writer, and I'm willing to look past that.
oh shit!
um, but yeah,
He worked.
no.
I think he worked on a comic called Watson and Holmes: A Study in Black with Rick Leonardi. Actually, Rick Leonardi.
Wait, I think that was the comic I was just talking about. But yeah,
Actually, Rick
no,
Leonardi.
he's a pretty good writer, and I would
I
recommend.
love
Oh
his
yeah,
writing so much.
actually, there was another thing. So there's a minor grievance that I kind of have with the Sonic fan base, particularly people who don't read the Sonic comics, who will credit
Or
basically
comic books in
anything,
general.
who will credit basically anything that came before Ian Flynn to Ken Penders.
I'll
Stop doing
smack the
that.
shit out of everyone who does that.
Yeah,
I see it all the time with Comic Drake's bitch ass.
that's annoying. Carl Bowlers deserves to be credited for the work he did. He's a great writer. He deserves the recognition for his work.
I'll
Give it to him.
smack the shit out of him.
And also go and read the comics. Go and do it.
Read
Especially,
comic books at all. None of these
it's
Sonic comic critics read comic books.
yeah. Well, I mean, they
None
read
of
Sonic,
these like
but yeah.
there are some who read comic books. They're professionals,
Hmm.
but none of these Sonic fans who read the comics read comic books outside of Sonic.
Yeah. Well, I
I
mean,
used to be guilty of the same thing, and then
I
I
was
read everything again.
I was guilty of doing that too, but the thing is, I got really bored of waiting. This is pretty much exactly how I got into reading Marvel comics. I got really bored of waiting for the next issue of Archie Sonic to come out because there was a point in time where they were taking so long to come out. So I just started reading Ultimate Spider-Man because I was like, oh yeah, I remember reading Volume 1 when I was like a kid. So I'm gonna go and check that out. And I did. And it
All
was
right,
pretty. And my next creator that I really like is a guy called Patrick Spaziante. He's an artist that worked on the Archie Sonic comic books as well. I'm not gonna stay on him for too long, but basically the thing that I really like about him is how good he is at emulating literally every art style ever. Like he has his own unique art styles, which are pretty cool. My favorite is the art style he had in like the early 2000s, like talking late 90s to like 2003 or something. He's pretty cool at emulating like other art styles from across the Sonic franchise, like artists like Naoto Oshima or Yuji Uekawa. He's pretty cool at doing that. I mean, when he does emulations, sometimes you can tell that it's him because like every artist kind of has like their telltales kind of thing, if you know what I mean by that. Like they can emulate an art style, but there's just certain quirks they have that give away that it's that it's them drawing it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but like he's still pretty good at doing that. He was an artist on the Archie comics, mainly for covers and stuff. I really like his work because like super hyper detailed, like the backgrounds and stuff. He like puts in such a massive amount of detail in like environments and stuff that like I read because Ken Penders has forums and he used to work with Spaz. That's what they call him. Um, Ken Penders mentioned that at one point he himself had to start inking Spaz's covers because like every other inker just refused to do it because of how much detail Spaz would put in the covers, which is really it's kind of funny to think about. And I too aspire to be able to put in so much detail in the cover that like the inkers in my Sonic Saturn project are just like, yo, Coco, you need to fuck off. Like, what the hell is this? Uh, and I
Aren't
actually
you
did.
supposed to be using a more cartoony art style so you actually finish things?
Well, it's mostly with environments, like like the characters themselves are pretty simplistic. And yeah, speaking of Sonic Saturn, which is the Sonic comic I draw, the art style I use in that comic is actually pretty heavily influenced by Spaz. I mean, I'm influenced by like a lot of the artists that worked on those comics, but Spaz is a pretty huge one. Unfortunately, the reason why I tend to avoid putting in that much detail is because I literally just don't have the attention span for it. Like I can't. Like the idea of
Yeah.
sitting there for like 10 hours and drawing each individual blade of grass the way Spaz does sometimes.
I
I
mean, you're
remember
talking to the person who draws like a 4-year-old's like hilly landscape and some poofy clouds as my backgrounds.
yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I do have one cover that I drew where I did try to sort of do like a detailed forest background, and I was pretty satisfied with it. But the problem is I wasn't able to do it. I really couldn't. I wasn't able to do it in one sitting. It actually took me days to do it because if I were to do it in one sitting, it would probably take me like forever. And I mean, I'd get it done quicker if I did it in one sitting, to be fair, but I just would not be able to focus on it. But yeah, no, he's a pretty cool artist. Um,
I mean,
he
I'm
recently,
not I'm not
oh,
familiar with his art obviously, but I can't
mhm.
say I totally agree in principle with that approach that like I definitely prefer the like less is more. Like I feel like it looks better a lot of the time if you don't draw every blade of grass.
Well, the thing with putting in a lot of it depends when you do it and how. Because there's this one other artist, he's a Sonic fan artist who's also heavily influenced by Spaz and other Archie Sonic artists. His name is Red Rabbit, and he puts in like a crap ton of detail into his work. The only problem is he puts in so much detail that like it's so hard to tell what's actually going on when you
Yeah,
look at
that's what I'm talking about.
yeah, like he puts in
It's
like
busy.
insane. Yeah, it's kind of insane. Um, so I probably wouldn't go that far, but like I think because I asked him one time, I asked him how he does that because he works in a project called Sonic Legacy, and I'm one of the VIPs in that server's VIP chat. And I asked him, dude, how do you do that? And he's like, well, what I do is I just zoom in a lot. Because he's a digital artist. He goes, I just zoom in a lot and I start, putting in the tiny little details. And I'm like, that sounds like it's very time consuming. And it probably
Well,
is. But like,
that's like Miura, the Berserk artist, who apparently
mhm.
like would get scolded for zooming in and drawing pixel by pixel.
Yeah, well, it's actually kind of interesting because I started reading Berserk recently, and I was like, man, I would love to be able to draw like this, but like the amount of time it would take to do that, and
Yeah.
also the carpal tunnel.
Yeah. And,
I don't want.
he died.
Yeah, and also it's not very good for your health, actually. So
Yeah.
there is that too. But it is. I mean, it's pretty good looking art, but nah. I'll just do half the job and then you know, I'll just do half the job and then I'll prompt an AI to be like, okay,
Yeah,
finish
that's I was
this
gonna say that. Let the AIs do it for you.
and be like, finish this, edit this drawing and make it look like Miura did it or Spaz did it or something. Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. My next creator, I don't really have a creators that I hate list. I have a creators that I'm indifferent towards list. So the first one, at this point, I was just scrambling for anyone I could put here. The first one is Tetsuya Nomura, the director of Kingdom Hearts, and he's also basically Square Enix's mascot at this point. Like, Square Enix loves putting that man's name on everything, even if it's a game that he wasn't even really that involved in. Like, there's a certain marketability that comes with Nomura's name, so they wherever they can put Nomura's name, they will put it there. So he's mostly known for his work on Final Fantasy VII, and Kingdom Hearts. Originally, he was the concept artist for the first, like, Final Fantasy VII was the first game he did like character designs for. Before he just did monster designs, and then before that he was just handling Square Enix's mail, really moving up in the world.
Wait, so
Um,
is this the guy responsible for like the plots? Or
yeah,
is this
so
just this is like the guy who made like the contrived Kingdom
Nomura
Hearts plots and stuff.
Nomura is basically like he's been directing Kingdom Hearts since day one, basically. Um,
Hmm.
it's kind of interesting how the writing for the games works because he comes up with the like for Kingdom Hearts 1 and well for like pretty much every Kingdom Hearts game except for 358 and 3, he just comes up with the ideas of the story and like the basic plot beats, but he doesn't actually write the script. That's one thing that a lot of people don't actually know about Kingdom Hearts is that Nomura has only written the script for like two games. Um,
Uh,
and incidentally, the best ones, the best written Kingdom Hearts games, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, happen to be ones that he didn't write the script for, so take that for what you will. But like, it's kind of interesting because, yeah, to answer your question, Nomura is definitely the one to blame for Kingdom Hearts going batshit crazy as its story progressed. But what's kind of interesting about it is like when they were conceptualizing Kingdom Hearts 1, like the very first game, originally Nomura didn't even want it to be that complicated. He just wanted to write a story where a boy fights a witch. So it would have been Sora versus Maleficent, and that would have been it. But then, like, someone else who works at Square Enix came up to him and said, yeah, but if you do that, not many people are gonna like it. So Nomura was like, fuck, okay. I guess I gotta add, like, some extra shit. So that's
that
when he
was
added,
his villain origin story. From that
yeah.
moment on, he knew that the people wanted contrivance.
I mean, that's pretty much what happened because so like the story of Kingdom Hearts 1 specifically is actually fairly simple, but like then you get to the end of the game and that's when you get all this shit with like Ansem, Seeker of Darkness and like all this other stuff and it turns out that like this whole time he's been possessing Riku or some shit. And like I have a feeling that like if that guy had never said to Nomura to sort of spice things up, that stuff would not have been in the game. But it's kind of interesting because that stuff ends up being pretty important in like later titles. So like you could say if it wasn't for that, that Kingdom Hearts is a series. I mean, for one thing, it would have only had one game, and second, a lot of like the plot would have been completely unrecognizable if like that stuff was never added in that first game. So I don't know. It's a blessing and a curse. But that's one thing I kind of like about Nomura is that I kind of like it can be frustrating sometimes with retcons and stuff like that. But like I kind of like those like super complicated lore filled stories like that. Like another example would probably be Final Fantasy 13, but Nomura didn't work on that one. Oh, I mean he did as a character designer, but like I kind of like those kinds of stories sometimes because of the scale and how epic they feel and stuff like that. And I've always wanted been yeah, kind of like that pretty much, yeah. And I've always wanted to write stories like that, but also have them make sense, which is pretty difficult to do. Like have those epic large scale stories and have them still be consistent within themselves and make sense. Because the reason why the stories are like that is because they're kind of making stuff up on the fly and like changing things and building on top of things that weren't really supposed to be built on top of. Like,
Yeah.
so, like, they were just supposed to be a one and done kind of thing. So, that's how it happens. So when it comes to writing stories like that, you kind of have to think, okay, do I want to change this? Will it benefit the story if I do? And in some ways with Kingdom Hearts, like in what Nomura writes, sometimes it does, other times it doesn't. It makes the story worse. Like the idea that like nobodies can just grow their hearts back and stuff like that. I hated that because it kind of just gets rid of the whole tragic element of being a nobody, which is that, originally they don't have hearts and they can't grow them back, and they desperately trying to reclaim their humanity. So, in pursuit of humanity, they keep on feeding Kingdom Hearts, which is basically like a god to them. They keep on feeding Kingdom Hearts in hopes that it will bless them with hearts of their own. And that was retconned, and I will never not be triggered over the fact that that was retconned. But yeah, no, there's definitely some pros and cons to it. He's also a pretty good artist. Um, his art style has kind of changed over the years. Like, you could say his art style for like the Final Fantasy VII concept art, the original Final Fantasy VII, was kind of like generic 90s anime look. Like it was good art, but like it didn't really stand out in that way. Like when you're a young artist, um sometimes like your art won't really have its own flavor yet. You kind of develop that with time. So like there wasn't a whole lot that made his art style stand out that much, but it was still pretty cool looking art. Um and then around the time that we get to like Kingdom Hearts 1, that's when his art style sort of started changing um to look more like how it does now. The only thing I don't really like about like um his current art style is that in some ways it looks kind of soulless and stiff, and I don't really know how to describe it, but like if you compare his old art and then compare it to his newer art, there's something about his newer art that's kind of missing, but I don't know how to describe it. It's weird. I wouldn't say it's bad art. It's still pretty good. Um, uh, like I remember looking at some of the storyboards he did for Kingdom Hearts 1 because he did some of the storyboards for the game as well. And it's pretty cool looking stuff. It actually kind of made me wish that he himself did the art for the Kingdom Hearts manga, but they got another guy to do it. His name is Shiro Amano, who is also a pretty good artist in his own right. But yeah, that's Tetsuya Nomura. He's pretty cool. I'm just gonna say one more thing about him though. Fuck him for not for ending Kingdom Hearts 3 on a cliffhanger. That was the biggest fuck you to all the fans of Kingdom Hearts who were getting tired of Kingdom Hearts and were ready to jump ship with Kingdom Hearts 3. Uh, don't do that with this saga. When you end this saga, end it conclusively so that I could stop
Yeah,
playing.
that's lame.
But yeah. And wait, how many creators have I said so far?
I think he was your either first or second one you don't like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was me jerking him off mostly, though. This is the indifferent towards. And then I got Takashi Iizuka, who is a person who I'm also indifferent towards. And Takashi Iizuka is the director of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. And he's somewhat of a divisive figure because a lot of people blame him for the direction that the Sonic franchise has taken in recent years. I am one of them. Um, I would like it if he was replaced, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be happening anytime soon because Izuka is basically one of the founding fathers of the Sonic franchise. Um, Pretty much the last one remaining, as far as I know, because like Yuji Naka has left, he's not there anymore. It's probably not going to be coming back anytime soon because if there's one thing Izuka resented, it was being tied down to Sonic the Hedgehog, so he's probably not going to come back anytime soon. But like, it's just annoying because like you know how they keep on like reusing classic Sonic over and over again, and how they keep on reusing the same levels over and over again. A lot of that
Yeah.
is a lot of that is Izuka's fault. It's like favoritism from him liking those stages. It's also him really trying to play it safe with the franchise, which in some ways I can respect. Like he's trying to sort of unify the franchise's identity and keep it consistent, which I can appreciate because I mean, like in in the early 2000s up to like probably when Sonic Colors came out, the franchise's identity was kind of all over the place. Like they were at a point where they were just like, yeah, we'll just do whatever the fuck we want and like put Sonic in it. That was basically how they handled Sonic back during that time. And so Izuka is kind of trying to move away from that, but like I feel like his approach of doing that is not very good. Especially when it's
I I really think that they should it can't be done. They just need to give up on the whole trying to make it one thing and let
Mhm.
there be like let the Sonic Mania guys have do classic games and just give them like full creative control or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh keep making the boost games and make them like the uh lame, boring, inoffensive games they generally are. Uh
Yeah. Well, like
and then
when I
make
refer to like
an
their identity.
adventure offshoot also
Mhm.
that is like the edgier, more story driven games and give the adventure
Yeah.
people what they want.
That's pretty much what they should do. Like they should get some of the old like the team that worked on those games to come back, like the Dreamcast era games. Cuz
Yeah.
like it's a matter of when it comes to sort of trying to preserve the identity, it's a matter of setting, aesthetic, um, gameplay style, etc. And it's I don't know. On the one hand, I sort of get it, but like it kind of ends up having a negative impact on other things. Like I remember when the Archie Sonic comics got canceled, and then it was announced that the new Sonic comics would be getting made under IDW, and like one thing that people didn't like about the Archie comics towards the end was how they were plagued with mandates that restricted the writer's creative freedom with the kind of stories that they wanted to tell. Like, yeah, I criticize Ian Flynn of being a writer who has to play it safe, but a part of it is that he kind of also has no choice because there's all these restrictions here and there.
Yeah.
Um,
The infamous only male hedgehogs can
yeah, that one. Only male hedgehog can turn super, which isn't even necessarily true because Blaze can turn super, but whatever. Um, oh, I'm sorry, she turns burning. Um, I don't know. There's like a bunch of weird rules there. There's like only male hedgehogs can go super. Sonic characters, like male Sonic characters, are not allowed to wear pants. Um, they're not. That's a real thing. That's a real mandate. They actually like that's a real mandate that they put in the comics. The characters are not allowed to like wear different outfits and stuff, like, because they have to always be recognizable all the time. They even put restrictions on their personality, like, oh, Sonic is not allowed to ever cry or be sad for too long. Like, he always has to be the upbeat shonen protag type guy. And it's like, no, let this guy have
Bruh.
some emotional range, damn it. Like,
Even
in the
like
old.
think about like Naruto.
Yeah,
Naruto is super sad. But the
yeah,
first opening of Naruto is just Naruto like walking around looking sad.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's there's something like they kind of have these mandates on the characters where they don't want them to sort of stray too far from their personalities, but then they end up becoming like weird caricatures of who they used to be by doing that. And that's one thing
Yeah.
that they don't like. So like when they announced that like the IDW comics were being like made, they like put out a picture of like the whole of the meeting discussing the creative process or whatever or how they're gonna do it, and a lot of people noticed that Izuka was in that picture, and of course people weren't very pleased because I don't know if it was Izuka or someone else, but like presumably Izuka was to blame for the mandates that the Archie comics had. So when people saw that Izuka was gonna be involved with IDW, people were just like, "Oh God, no!" I mean, fortunately, it seems like most people like the IDW comics. I'm kind of mixed on them, but like, yeah, no, I think um Izuka kind of needs to be less uptight on what he's willing to let be done with Sonic as a franchise. I think it would greatly benefit from that because earlier you mentioned Sonic Mania. Like Sonic Mania, the reason why not all of the stages are original stages and why some of them are like rehashed classic stages is because they were mandated to do that. They were asked to do that by
Uh
Izuka. So like people are really hoping that if there's ever a Sonic Mania 2, which it's seeming like there won't be anytime soon, that, since Mania did well, hopefully Izuka and Sonic Team will like back off and let them do their thing. But
it's
like,
so lame. It's like they're throwing away free money.
yeah,
Free money.
yeah. But I don't know. Like I put Izuka in the indifferent towards, so I'm trying to think if there's anything positive I have to say about Izuka, but not really. I guess he did direct Sonic Unleashed, I think, or at least he was like the supervisor of that. And he was involved with Sonic Generations, which is also pretty cool. Uh, and again, he is one of the founding fathers of the franchise. So like for all the negative criticism I have towards Izuka, he had a positive impact on the franchise to some extent, you know. Um, but a guy just needs to sort of take a step back and probably let some newer, younger devs who are more what's the word I'm looking for? Who know what the fans want more to lead the games. Like it would actually be I know if Nebz was here he would disagree, but it would actually be kind of cool to see what a Sonic team led by Aaron Webber would be like. Because Aaron Webber was the guy who was previously in charge of like the Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter and, based on like some of the notes he released where he was shitting all over Sonic Force's script when they asked for his opinion. Um, uh, he seems to understand what the fans want a little bit more, but then he's American and Sonic Team is in Japan, and part of the whole unifying the Sonic identity thing is definitely trying to sort of move it away from America having influence on Sonic like it used to back in the 90s, because Sega of America did used to have a pretty big influence on, Sonic's identity back then, and it seems like they're kind of trying to tear that down. So, yeah, that's probably not going to be happening anytime soon. Um, but
Which
yeah,
is weird since Sonic is like bigger here than it is in Japan, right?
yeah, it is more popular in the West than it is in Japan. And I find it really funny because nowadays they're like really trying to market it in Japan. Like they keep on having all these Hololive JP VTubers like promote their games now. It's kind of funny. Like they're trying by any means and to promote it. And they probably said, "Hey guys, can you inject our video game as many times as you possibly can in your Uncle Isekai uh, anime so people can be like, Sonic the Hedgehog, that sounds cool. I'm gonna go play that." No, I'm
And
kidding.
then it got canceled, sort of.
Yeah. All right.
I, I
Last.
mean, the impression I get of it, uh, as someone who is way less knowledgeable about all of this than you, is that like they just don't understand what the American audience wants. They tried to give them what they want with like Sonic Boom, and everyone
Mm,
hated it. Uh,
yeah.
so now they're just like, fuck, we just have
Well,
to,
people liked the cartoon, but they hated the game.
yeah, the game. I mean,
Yeah.
right? They greenlit that game because they were like, well, we don't understand what the Americans want, so just like let's have like studio that knows Americans do it, and it was a colossal failure.
Well, the
Still,
biggest
because
problem,
of them, for the record,
yeah,
because
the
of their
biggest
awful
problem with
mismanagement.
the biggest problem with Sonic Boom is the fact that I don't know how far true this is, but I've heard some people say that like, because Sonic Boom was made by like a company of people who left Naughty Dog and started their own company called Big Red Button, and like they were developing a game, but they didn't really have the budget for it, so they just pitched the game to Sega, and Sega was like, "That's pretty cool. Okay, now put Sonic in it." So, I mean, for one thing, that would explain why it's so different from like the mainline series in the first place, but I don't know if that's
Yeah.
really true. Um, yeah,
Well,
no,
one thing we can agree on is Sega management sucks.
yeah, there's like a ton of videos on how like terrible the development cycles of almost every Sonic game ever has
Yeah.
been. Like none of them have actually had a good development cycle, which is which kind of makes you wonder how the franchise has lived this long. But yeah, one solution to understanding what the American market wants would probably be to just move Sonic Team to the United States, which they had done once. In fact, I think they're still doing it. I don't know. There
Sonic
was some
CD, right?
there was some talk, yeah, something like that. Like I know there was a thing where like American developers and Japanese developers collabed on Sonic 2, and it was complicated because Yuji Naka was kind of like low-key racist. So
Hmm.
so it was like, I don't want to work with these filthy Yankees. Get me the fuck out of here. But like, yeah, no. Like they've done it before, so they should do it now. And it would greatly benefit from doing that, I think. But yeah, last creator. So technically I had two more listed here because I didn't know who to choose from. I'm gonna go with Trixie the Golden Witch. Now, I don't really have that much negative to say about Trixie the Golden Witch, if I'm being honest. Um, the only negative thing I do have to say, I guess, is that I kind of miss their old style of content because it seems like nowadays most of their videos are kind of, well, I mean, they don't really, I think she retired, right?
Yeah, you're retired.
Yeah, she retired. But like before she retired, like the content didn't really wasn't like the quality wasn't as high as some of the content they used to make before. But
Yeah,
that
she kind of changed the format, and it
yeah,
was not as good.
yeah. I mean it was like fine-ish. Like I had a friend someone described it as sort of being comfy and it was kind of comfy. But like I kind of like the more informative research backed and fully edited videos as opposed to the free form like unscripted discussion videos. I mean there's nothing wrong with those. Those are fine too, but like I just kind of preferred the other style of content.
Well, I liked like the After Dark channel back in the day, but I feel
Mm.
like even
But that
that,
worked
like,
because she was wasted.
maybe, I don't know. I feel like there was a time when she was sober and doing those videos, but or
Yeah.
no, I guess she's always there was like the whole thing with the drama that she started while she was like getting drunk and just shit
Oh,
talking
the
YouTubers.
just shit talking Annie-tubers for like 30 minutes. Oh God, what have I done video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like she just wasn't very happy with her current situation, including
Mhm.
with everything but including the YouTube content, and she just wanted to get out of it. But ultimately, people did not want a different type of content from her.
I mean, people, I think
And
there's
then there was also the
definitely,
transition stuff, obviously, that there's like a bunch of transphobes and whatnot.
yeah,
But
yeah. I mean, a part of that, because like Trixie's content back in the day, it kind of had like an edgy swing to it a little bit, especially
yeah.
the not so much like her analytical videos, but some of it. And I mean, let's be honest, if you make edgy content, you are just going to attract those kinds of people. I
Hmm.
mean, I have no problem with edgy content sometimes. I mean, I do draw a line slightly lower than most people do, but it can be pretty funny sometimes. But the unfortunate reality is it definitely does draw in some unlikable people. So,
Hmm.
it was kind of bound to happen. I mean, I remember one time, uh, I think this was before like they fell out with each other proper. So back when Trixie was still on the podcast and Ben as well. Uh,
Ben saying
yeah, Ben saying,
aliens.
yeah. Um, I think someone asked Ben Sane on Twitter, do you think that, so this was when Trixie was still Digibro, do you think that Digi is on the right wing pipeline? Right? And Ben answered yes to the question, which, of course, Trixie didn't
I
take
mean,
too
she
kindly
was
to.
dating a Nazi when that happened, wasn't she?
Well, May wasn't like. See, here's the weird thing
Or
with
no, I
May.
guess she was a Trump supporter and then she became
May
like
wasn't
a
like a
Christian
straight up.
fascist.
She wasn't like a straight up white nationalist or anything like that until she started seeing Ethan Ralph. It's Ethan Ralph, right?
Yeah.
Like yeah, it wasn't she wasn't really like that before that, but my thing with May is I'm very much under the impression that she's very easily influenced by whoever she happens to be in a relationship with at the time. 'Cause like when she was with Trixie, she was like super into doing anime content and stuff like that and was gonna start her own
Hmm.
AniTube channel. And then once she's with Ethan Ralph, she like completely changes and is into like fucking white nationalist shit and is talking about how she's gonna have as many white kids as she can to like undo the decline in the white population in the United States.
Well, I'm pretty
Like,
sure she was like far right already though. Even if she
mhm,
wasn't a full-on fascist, like they've definitely uh I think like Beatrice and Ben have acknowledged that she was like far right uh
mm,
even before like all the falling out and stuff.
yeah. But like, yeah, Trixie didn't take too kindly to being referred to as being on the right wing pipeline. Um, when, but like, I mean, I don't know. It's just an unfortunate truth that like if you make like a certain style of content, like if you make super edgy content, you're just gonna draw in those kinds of people. It kind of goes back to like the point I was making earlier in the podcast about how if you talk about stuff like, oh man, I hate how modern media today sure is like this isn't the kind of content that Trixie was making, but like, you know,
Mhm.
um, I sure hate how modern day content is super political. Oh no, all this race swapping and feminism and blah blah blah. Like, you are going to attract people on the right, especially those who are racist or sexist, because, like they don't hate race swapping because it's lazy, like I do. They hate race swapping because they're racist and they don't want to see black characters. They don't want to see black characters in movies. Or they hate like, strong female characters because they're actually sexist and just don't want women in those kinds of roles in movies, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you end up getting guys like Just Some Guy who, he complains about all this stuff, and then the moment he says like one lefty leaning kind of thing, like, hey, the Don't Say Gay bill is actually kind of fucked up, you get like his entire audience turning on him. But yeah, it's just, I don't know if there's really any way to avoid that except probably making content that's like half and half, like.
I think you just have to make it very clear that like
Hmm.
those kinds of people aren't welcome in your community. Whenever you're
Yeah,
talking about that stuff, you have to be super clear that like I do want more black people in media or whatever. Just this is why I don't like this particular case. And then also like purge the people who are being racist and like ban
yeah,
them from the comments and stuff.
yeah. That's pretty much what Just Some Guy did because as soon as he spoke out against the Don't Say Gay bill, like people just started spamming the N-word in his comments because he's
Nice.
black. He's black
Ugh.
and bi. Um, and it's I don't know. I know I'm kind of getting sidetracked from my actual creator that I listed, but like it's just funny because with Just Some Guy, he said, like, even though he makes content like, oh man, I hate this stuff that's happening in modern media, he said multiple times in his videos that he's left leaning, like, so many times. That's why I always found it kind of funny that, like, so many people were, like, shocked to see
Well,
him.
there's like a lot of right wing YouTubers that will like say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm left leaning." I
Yeah,
just really, I
but,
just
like,
really have a problem with these women in my video games.
with Just Some Guy, it was interesting because he sort of started going down this path where he was like constantly because like how like in some states in America, well, like I don't know if you've heard about it, but like some of them are like starting to like ban books and stuff, like especially books that are like can have sexual content or are somewhat homosexual or stuff like that. And he was saying, hey, it's kind of messed up that like these Republicans are like banning all of these books because it talks about like LGBT stuff or stuff to do with race. And
Oh,
so,
funny you
yeah.
mentioned that. Some of John and Hank Green's books, from my Creators I Love list, are banned here in Texas.
Bruh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just funny because we're saying, hey, aren't you the guys that like say you're about freedom of speech and stuff? Why are you guys banning all these books? So, like, before he even called out like the "Don't Say Gay" bill stuff, he was already kind of going down the path of like calling out like Republicans and the right and stuff, and the whole like him calling out the "Don't Say Gay" bill was sort of the climax of that. Like, it's when it all came to a head. But yeah, I got sort of sidetracked there. Trixie the Golden Witch. Uh, Trixie. In a similar way to Some Call Me Johnny, um, also kind of inspired me to sort of be more thoughtful about the content that I consume. Sometimes it's kind of annoying though because when you suddenly become more critical or analytical of the stuff that you consume, you suddenly you kind of become overcome with the desire to want to sort of share it with people the way people like Trixie do or Some Call Me Johnny or whatever. And it's like, you know, that's why I keep on saying, oh man, I've been working on this Ava essay for like 5 months, and it's just taking me forever to actually finish it. When the reality is, I started writing it, and then I stopped, and I haven't touched it, and I'm like, I really want to finish it and actually upload it. Like Trixie, in some ways, has inspired me to want to make like analytical content like that. Like, for example, like doing that for comics because it's not very common with Western comics. I was like, oh, what if I did like an analysis? Oh my God, how do I English? An analyses of the Ultimate Spider-Man comics or something like that. It'd be pretty cool. Um, but at the same time, it's I copyist because it requires effort, and I'm not very good at doing anything that requires effort.
Well, to her credit, in terms of things that do get made, uh,
Mhm.
the seasonal discharge is pretty directly ripped from Content, which her and Nate
Yeah.
Bestman did. So
Hmm. It's
she's made
it's
some contribution to this podcast.
yeah, very true. But yeah, that's Trixie the Golden Witch. I actually had Ben Saint written down, but then I realized I don't actually have anything to say about Ben Saint except uh I like his content, but the
Well,
guy is kind of an asshole.
yes, okay. Ben Saint is exactly goes back to uh like the other thing about Destiny, which is that he's just kind of a bully. That
Hmm.
like I agree on Ben Saint with like unlike Destiny, I agree with Ben Saint on a lot. Like
I feel
I
like the
agree with a lot
difference
of his
between
politics.
like if the thing about Destiny is true, I feel like the difference between Destiny and Ben Saint is that Ben Saint is aware of it and actually makes it a part of his character. Whereas Destiny tries to be willfully ignorant to it, I think, about that.
Yeah, I don't know if I think Destiny knows, but I also think Destiny knows it makes him look bad if just he knows that it looks better if sometimes he like I don't want to say virtue signal, but he like makes it seem like he's not make a
Yeah,
token effort to seem nice in some
yeah,
ways or
mm-hmm,
charitable. But at the end
yeah,
of the day, they're both just very spiteful people at times.
mm-hmm, yeah. Well, actually, that actually reminds me of one thing that I do have to say about Trixie that I don't like. Um, which is not committing to putting out a project that fans paid money for. Now
Yeah, that's messed up.
I understand the reasons why that project was not put out. It's actually a similar reason to why, because I said once off podcast that we kind of have like a precursor to the social discharge podcast, but the episodes were never put up, and I was thinking of putting them up and privating and just locking them behind a playlist. And I was like, do I want to put those up? Those were like recorded in like 2019, where I go by my dead name and people refer to me with, male pronouns. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I might put them up. I don't know. So I definitely understand the reason, but the difference is no one paid to see these old episodes of the podcast. People's time was put into it, recording it, of course, and Nebz edited the first episodes. Uh, so at the very least, I should put out the first one so that his editing doesn't go to waste. But yeah, no, I kind of get it, but at the same time. But in some ways, I also kind of relate to it because I know that in the past, Trixie had a thing with like other projects where sometimes she would start it, like the how they marketed thing or whatever, and after a while, she would start to realize that it's like way beyond the scope of what she's capable of doing or what she's willing to do. And I definitely relate to that to some extent because that's kind of the situation that I'm in right now with like my original comic that I've been planning for years. Like, you know, the art skill level it requires is somewhat beyond what I'm currently capable of drawing. Um uh so sometimes I think of canceling it, but then I think I've been wanting to make this comic since I was like 10 years old. The idea of dropping it all of a sudden is sounds really painful, and I probably won't.
You
I'll
just
probably,
gotta change the process.
yeah, I guess. I was gonna say I'll probably be on my deathbed still planning it. Like I'll be in the hospital. I'll be on the hospital bed with my laptop on, and my grandkid is like, you know, like, okay, I'll draw it, because hopefully I would have started a line of artists, and my family will be the artist family, and they'll take it on and draw it for me. The way Toriyama's kid is taking on Dragon Ball,
Wait,
and
that's real?
yeah, that's
Toriyama's
real.
kid is. But what about the other guy?
No, Toriyama's kid is, well, it's a little bit different because Toriyama's kid isn't like gonna be drawing it or writing it. He's just gonna be supervising.
Uh,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah,
So the other guy is still gonna be drawing and
yeah.
writing.
Toyotaro is still gonna be
Yeah,
drawing and
Toyotaro.
yeah. I mean, it's a little bit weird because like as I understand it, the way the Dragon Ball Super anime and manga are made is that they're written by two different people, but Toriyama provides the general idea of what the arcs are and what they're about. That's why there's like differences in the Tournament of Power arc in the manga in
That's why it
comparison.
sucks.
But that's why the manga is, well, I don't know. I was gonna say the manga is better, but then I dropped out of the anime like way early into it. I just stopped keeping up with it. But yeah, that's all of my creators that I like and dislike. Any closing thoughts, Arlon?
Read my comic, Big Billy's Adventure Everywhere .xyz. That's it.
Would you say that you yourself are another creator that you love?
I, I, gosh darn it, I guess I would.
I would say that I'm a creator that I love, even though I barely create anything and I should get back to it, but I'm too lazy to at the same time. All
Base.
right. Um, okay. I was gonna say, do you have anything you want to plug? But you already plugged your comic.
I was too eager to shell.
Yes. As for me, you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Tamika Likes to Draw. You can find me on DeviantArt at Amazing Artist Red. My YouTube channel, Just Gaming, until I find a way to change the name of that, because again, people keep on telling me it sounds like jizz. Uh, uh, and you can find the both of us on Discord in the Social Discharge podcast server, and the link is in the description. Uh, that's it, I think. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Everybody say goodbye. Bye.
Bye.